Good morning, everyone. We have a significant number of people joining us today, so we want to give them an opportunity to enter into the room, so we'll give it a few more minutes. Good morning. Welcome to the Office of Illinois Works IWRS Updates. Thank you for joining us today. Today's session will cover updates to the Illinois Works Reporting System, IWRS, items of note in the system and enhancements that are planned for the 2025 grant year. The target audience for this session include administrators, data entry coordinators, and any staff accountable for accessing or entering information into IWRS. My name is Dr. Carlita Alston, and I am one of the instructional designers and professional coaches for the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. I'm happy to have you here today. I would like to also introduce two other presenters for today's session, Ms. Monica Pruitt and Mr. Dan Martinez. Monica, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Monica Pruitt. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you, Monica. And Dan, can you also introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Martinez, of course, one of the grant managers with the Office of Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dan. The Illinois Works reporting system was designed by SIU's Center for Workforce Development for the specific purpose of tracking participant, organizational, and compliance data for the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program. This database was initially launched in February of 2022, leveraging the feedback received during the 2024 grant year. Several updates have been made and more are planned for 2025. During this session, you will be introduced to the IWRS updates that have been implemented and are operational. You will also be introduced to updates that are planned prior to the end of the 2025 grant year. In his absence, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Norman Ruano, our Deputy Director of Illinois Works, as a part of our pre-apprenticeship team. I would also like to introduce our professional development team who will be supporting us during this webinar today. Our VP for today, virtual producer, is Dr. Jeff Doolittle. Jeff, can you please introduce yourself? Thank you, Jeff. Also joining us and supporting the virtual production is Dr. Gia Suggs. Dr. Suggs, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all again and welcome.
Thank you. Along with our team, we have Dr. Fumi Apantaku, who will also be monitoring our chat for today. Dr. Fumi, can you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. We have Miss Olivia Meisenbach, who will be monitoring our time for today. Olivia, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone, and we appreciate you all for coming today.
Very good, thank you. And finally, we have David Garvey from Southern Illinois University, who will be assisting us with the technology for today. David, can you introduce yourself? Okay, thank you for all of your participation. And in the end of this session, I will be coming back to give our evaluation for your feedback. So here we are going to talk about the objectives for today. By the end of this training, you'll be able to utilize new features, tools, and reports in the Illinois Works reporting system and also prepare for additional IWRS features rolling out in 2025. Please note, this session is being recorded and will be made available for review on our Illinois Works Partner Guide. The link to the Illinois Works Partner Guide is now being made available in the chat. Are there any questions before we proceed to the next section? If there are any questions in the chat, can we share that with the group?
There are no questions on the chat.
Thank you so much, Kumi. So now let us move on to section 2. By the end of this section, you will be able to introduce yourself to the session participants and identify your level of comfort with Illinois Works IWRS system. If you have further comments, feedback, or questions after this training, you can email us, and the email is available in the chat. So now I'll turn to Mentimeter. You will see on the right-hand side of your screen a multimedia viewer alert. Click the blue Continue button, and once you press the Continue, the Mentimeter app will show in the multi-viewer panel. You may also use the link that's being provided in the chat. This will allow you to fully participate during this training, as well as provide us with feedback at the end of the training. So using Mentimeter, please indicate the following: your name, organization or agency, your role, and your geographic location. I'll give people a few minutes to populate that. We have Ferris from Rebuilding Exchange in Evanston. Susan from the Illinois Foundation Skills USA. Bianca from Renco. Good morning to you. Hallie from EDDR. Will from Rebuilding Exchange. Elena from Metropolitan Family Services. Damien from Hire 360. Hector Tello at Hacia. Sorry about that, Hector. Isaiah from Quad. And I think there's some at the bottom that we can slide up the tool. Thank you. We have Amelia from Youth Build. Simon from Chicagoland Prison. Kayla from Hire 360. Sandra from CWIT. Aurelia from Community Assistance Program, Angela from Community Assistance, Rahi from Lumity, Vicky from Southwestern Illinois College, thank you, Alexander from Southwestern, we have Victoria from Hire 360, William from Richland Community College, Lita from Center of Innovation, Deanna from Center of Innovation, Abria from Bethel Family Resources, Heather, thank you for joining us, Heather. Scott from Tri-State, Rock Island Tri-State, Asia from Rincon, and I think there's another one at the bottom if we could scroll up a little bit. All right, we have quite a few people here. Carlos from Youth Build, Latricia from Chicagoland, Robert from Bethel, Yanette from Metropolitan Family Service, Schubert from Quad. Wow, we have a great crowd today. Thank you all for joining and thank you for being here. So our next question, how would you rate your knowledge and skill level with IWRS? So rate your knowledge and skill as basic, intermediate, or advanced. Looks like they're coming in now. Got a few experts in the room. Love that. Most of us are in the middle. Pretty comfortable. That's good. And then we have a few that are new and are still learning this system, which is expected. Very good. Are there any other responses that you want to add in? All right, thank you for participating. Before we move on, are there questions that you have? And if you do, you can drop it in the chat and we will answer them as we have enough time allotted for doing so.
At this time, there are no questions in the chat. Oh, we have one from Damian Flores. If we joined the conference at NIU last week, will there be any additional information from that day?
Can you repeat the question?
If we joined the conference at NIU last week, will there be any additional information from that day?
From what I can understand, I think, Dan, would you be able to answer this question?
No, not really. The audiences are, we had two different audiences, so the information that we're presenting it in a different way. The conference in Rockford, or the meeting in Rockford, that was really for people that had not used IWRS before. So we present the information in a different way. This is meant for users of IWRS and to update them with, what's going to be new and some of the requirements that they're going to have.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, if there are no other questions, I want to turn this over to Mr. Dan Martinez.
All right, thank you, Carlita. As we were just discussing, this section, we are going to be talking about some of the new features and tools that are available in IWRS. We're going to be providing experienced users with some context with how these changes maybe have impacted the program compared to last year, or what kind of impacts they should expect. First up, we are, this is actually something that is not new for this year, but it's a reminder, and it's important for every single organization to, fully understand that. The Office of Illinois Works implemented a new procedure for establishing training profiles, and we started this in 2024. It will be, as far as we can tell, the procedure for the foreseeable future. So as a reminder, grantees may not move participants from an applicant status to an enrolled status in IWRS until their grant manager instructs them to do so. What needs to happen first is that organizations are meeting with their grant managers in kind of one-on-one. They're called administrative onboarding meetings, and they are reviewing the curriculum that particular organization is providing, and having their final curriculum forms approved. Once that is completed, your grant manager will establish the training profile for each of your cohorts in IWRS. And a given grantee, of course, could have a, cohort 1 and cohort 2 could have slightly different training modules, but all that has to be part of the approved final curriculum form. Once that is done, once the grant manager has established those training profiles, then grantees are able to go into the cohort details and enter the plan to start and end dates for each training module. They will also confirm that the training modules match the final curriculum form, and the required hours match the final curriculum form that they had agreed to. Once that has all been completed, then they may start enrolling participants into their first cohort. So remember, of course, that is only done after the participant attends the first day of instruction and actually becomes a member of the cohort. So again, this is just kind of a recap, but we thought it was very important to remind everyone on today's session. So the first new feature for 2025 that we would like to discuss is the ability to upload leads into IWRS. So currently, each individual that contacts your organization regarding the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program must be entered one at a time into IWRS. That's that add participant on the main screen. This places the individual into IWRS with a status of inquiry. So in 2025, grantees can expedite this process by uploading multiple inquiries at one time. This is beneficial whether you have captured the lead information via a CRM system, or you're simply compiling all of the information, maybe from an open house or from your social media, into a single Excel spreadsheet. To utilize this feature, you would click on the Upload Customers button on that participant recruitment and engagement screen, the main screen of IWRS. Embedded into the upload page are instructions and an Excel template. It is very important to utilize that Excel template. It's a requirement for that upload to be successful. So a grantee would need to export their information out of, their internal systems, or as I mentioned, transfer it from, maybe a paper sign-in sheet or information sheet that you had gathered up, or recordings of the social media outreach, and you'll transfer that information to the Excel template. That can then be uploaded into IWRS. So one caveat to keep in mind is that the system is not configured to accept multiple responses like the single pre-assessment questionnaire can. So what that means is if the participant has multiple responses to a question such as race, those responses must be added manually after the bulk upload. So if they say that they are, of two different races, you'll have to select one for that Excel template, upload that, and then add the other one to that person's inquiry profile. Please note that reporting inquiries is critical and absolutely mandatory. The Office of Illinois Works is required to aggregate the information regarding inquiries and applicants and report that information to the Illinois Works Review Panel. So it is certainly a part of your grant agreement to be tracking that information. Next up for 2025 was an update that was executed to clear up confusion. This simple update changes the language on the IWRS application. So currently, previously, it had just asked for the current employer name. Now it says enter the current or most recent employer name. In the past, some grantees indicated that it was not 100% clear that the Office of Illinois Works wanted the most recent employer if the applicant is currently unemployed. So hopefully everyone appreciates this clarification. In fact, in order to clarify things even further, if the participant is over 21 years of age, then an employer name is now required. So if you encounter an applicant that is over 21 and has legitimately never worked a single day in his or her life, you'll need to reach out to your grant manager to determine whether that person is actually eligible for the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, because certainly the ability and desire to work in construction is a requirement. And if they haven't worked by the age of 21, there may be some extenuating circumstances. So make sure you discuss that with your grant manager. Next up, we have an eligibility document update. So certainly all programs since our inception have been required to retain eligibility document for each participant in their paper file. So for 2025, IWRS has been updated for grantees to upload that proof of the participant's identity, proof of their age, and their Illinois residency. That will take place right on the intake page of IWRS. And your grant manager will review these required IWRS uploads as part of enrollment verification. As all of you should know, that is part of the 2024 closeout currently. So this will now be moved to enrollment verification. When adding participants to IWRS, Grantees must obtain proof of that participant's legal name, their birth date, their Illinois residency, and the legal name must be the name that's entered into IWRS. As some of you know, once you determine that the legal aid name does not match what was entered into IWRS, then a help desk request will need to be submitted, and that will be updated for you. So in general, the best documents to obtain and upload for this requirement are a driver's license, a state of Illinois driver's license, or a state of Illinois ID. Both of those documents fulfill all three requirements, right? They have the legal name, they have the date of birth, so we can verify the person's over the age of 18, and of course, their Illinois driver's license or Illinois state ID, and they have their address showing Illinois, so that proves a residency. Alternatively, a participant could provide documents such as maybe a birth certificate and a utility bill. The birth certificate provides the legal name and the date of birth. The utility bill would suffice as proof of residency. So as you all should already know, another item to be aware of is if the participant's current legal name is different than the name of the name that is presented on the diploma or proof of high school completion, GED, HiSET, you will need to include in the upload proof of the name change, such as the marriage certificate, which is most commonly what we see. So you'll want to include that with your upload in both the high school diploma and the eligibility information. Next up, we have the wraparound service assessment. A similar update to the eligibility document upload is the requirement to upload each participant's wraparound service assessment. So in 2025, all participants must fill out their own wraparound service assessment. The wraparound service coordinator must ensure that participants understand the assessment and the different support that all Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program organizations must offer them. So very often that happens during the Illinois Works orientation, that you should be providing information on how your organization can help them overcome barriers. Certainly we have some of those defined questions in the wraparound service assessment, such as do you have reliable transportation? Do you feel confident with your own financial literacy? Things like that. So you want to make sure that you are providing the context and the information and how you can support the individuals before you hand out the wraparound service assessments for them to fill out on their own. Then grantees will obtain all of those wraparound service assessments, upload that to IWRS. You will continue to enter the responses into the wraparound service assessment above and beyond uploading the assessment. This allows the requested services to be automatically added to the wraparound service goal in the training /services section of IWRS. And we'll actually talk about that more in just a moment. But the final update to mention on the wraparound service assessment is that the name of the individual that facilitated that assessment, that discussion and assessment, must be entered in to the wraparound service assessment on IWRS. So this is listed as the conductor name. In most cases, the person conducting the wraparound service assessment with the participants will be the wraparound service coordinator. So again, that name would need to be entered into IWRS. As you can see that on the screen, it's now listed as the last name there. It actually, if you go into one of your 2024 participants, you will see that conductor name field is there. Obviously, it will be blank because that wasn't something that was available during intake for the 2024 participants. And you won't be able to, update it again, but it's really, again, it's a 2025 requirement that name is entered there. And again, whenever we ask for a name, it's the first and the last name. All right. So I mentioned just a moment ago that one of the features in IWRS is that it can auto-populate services into the respective goals whenever that is needed. So that's been true for the wraparound services, based on responses to the wraparound service assessment, I think since 2022. But new in 2025, the transition services also automatically populate. They will populate into the transition service goal based on responses to the career assessment. This actually was implemented in late 2024, so some of you that were still operating programs may have seen this, but this was really meant as a 2025 update. Student support services will also start automatically populating into the student support services goal based on activity within the training modules. So, for example, if a post-assessment score of less than 70% is entered into a training module, the system will automatically place the service retake assessment and the service of tutoring into the student support service goal. And then it is then there for the student support service coordinator to update whether the person did come back and receive that tutoring and mark that as a successful completion, or whether they did not, or what the reasoning and rationale behind each of those were. Of course, grantees are still able to, and in fact are responsible for, manually entering any barrier reduction services to the wraparound service goal, to the transition service goal, and the student support service goal whenever they are necessary. So even though IWRS will automatically populate whenever a circumstance in IWRS dictates that those services should be added to the goal, grantees can still manually add services whenever they identify a needed transition service, student support service, or wraparound support service. Next up, we have the tracking of barrier reduction costs. So going forward, grantees must enter into IWRS any direct costs associated with providing one of those wraparound services, transition services, or student support services. They must manually enter those direct costs into IWRS. So all of the grantees should already be familiar with how they entered the dollar value of service for stipends in the stipend service, and this will operate in the exact same manner. If you have any questions about what costs would be entered there, the best way to think about that is to remember that IWRS functions as the PPR, the Periodic Performance Report for your grant. And of course, all PPRs must match the PFRs, the Periodic Financial Report that your organization submits. So it is really important to make sure that those items are in alignment. That goes for the stipends that you enter. That would be true for any wraparound services, like if you have, paid for the cost of a driver's license, right? If you're submitting that as an expense in your PFR in your general ledger, then that needs to be documented in the dollar value of service for that wraparound service in IWRS. So this will be something that the Illinois Works pre-apprenticeship program monitoring grant manager will be reviewing to ensure that the services reported as being delivered in IWRS, along with those costs, match the dollar amounts reported by your accounting staff via the PFRs and the general ledgers. All right, next up, in 2024, the Office of Illinois Works introduced a new method of entering bulk attendance. We actually did a lot of work based on grantee feedback on improving and streamlining and reducing the amount of administrative work for grantees with regard to attendance. So this has been further improved for 2025. So now we have a bulk entry tool that will be accessed through the reports icon in the navigation bar. Once you access the reports icon, as you can see here on the screen, you would filter the project or category to IL Works in that drop-down menu, and then you would scroll down and select IWRS Training Services Report. And I'll actually, walk you through all of these things in just a moment after we discuss them. I'll show us kind of a live demonstration of where to see some of these things. So this training services report, when you access the bulk attendance tool, the grantee can choose to filter it by, say, a training module, and then they can update everyone's attendance for a single training module. Or they can filter it by the cohort and just enter, maybe for a single participant, all of their information for every training module that participant was part of. These updates are done by clicking the edit link alongside each participant's name. From there, a pop-up window will appear, allowing the grantee to update the overall status, the start and end dates if they're different from what you had originally placed in that cohort details. That was the very first slide I talked about. Of course, entering their total attendance hours, selecting whether or not those total attendance hours include any makeup hours, and then entering the assessment information. So you'll be able to enter the assessment name, the score that the participant received on that assessment, and the date of the assessment. I do want to highlight once again that the name of the assessment is, typically the name of the course, or it's the name of the assessment. It is not the participant's name, right? But you can see here that this allows you to enter all on one screen, all of this information, and even move the overall status to, say, successful completion if that's the case, and do that in kind of a single click, whereas previously, right, you had to scroll through, or first search up a participant and go through their profile, go to training, scroll down, expand the training's goal, select the proper training service, wait for the system to pull that up, and just on, right? It was a lot of clicks, so this reduces the time pretty drastically. One thing to note is that you cannot make any changes to the hours required. So that, of course, is one of the things I mentioned about your grant manager establishing the training profile based on the final curriculum form. Once Illinois Works and your organization agrees to the number of hours for a particular training module, that gets set kind of in stone, and those hours cannot be changed. In addition, the only status that can be changed on that tab are either to move it from plan not started to started/open, or moving it all the way to successful completion. If it turns out that you need to add a different status, such as unsuccessful completion or evaluated not required, you'll need to still do that in the participant's profile directly, because those statuses will require case notes explaining why it was evaluated not required or an unsuccessful completion. All right. So on top of the ability to update that information kind of one at a time, we also have the ability to upload the attendance in mass. So earlier we discussed the ability to upload leads and inquiries into IWRS via an Excel spreadsheet. Well, similarly, in 2025, grantees are able to upload training information such as attendance and post assessments in bulk. So as you can see on your screen, this feature really utilizes that same upload interface that the inquiry bulk upload utilized, which includes the use of an Excel template. So you will first download that Excel template for the training services, and then grantees that wish to use this feature would then place their changes on the template and upload the information back into IWRS. So you know what, I can see that I can just see a flash here that we've had quite a few questions. So I'm going to stop here. I know we only have a couple more things to go, but what kind of questions have we seen in the chat so far?
Yes, Dan, we have JR asking the question, if the name on the ID or driver's license is different than the one on the high school diploma, for example, the diploma has a middle name and the state ID does not.
Right. So we are not tracking middle names. So yeah, you don't need to worry about that. It's the first and last name that have to be accurately entered.
And then Sandra Brudent wants to know, where can she find the wraparound form for the students to fill out?
We are in the process of having those uploaded to the partner guide. So we will let you know once those have been uploaded and updated.
And Rahit Davis asks, do we have to do the handwritten attendance if we're doing it this way too?
I am not, Rahid, can you, I know you can't unmute yourself. Can you, add more context to that question in the chat? I will say that it does not change the need to use the attendance rosters that the Office of Illinois Works provided to all grantees in September of 2024. Those are going to be the required attendance rosters unless your organization has just recently, because this is something that would need to be done every year, when you meet with your grant manager on a one-on-one basis, submit an alternative attendance roster for approval. Okay. All right.
We still have one question. I think Rahid is responding. I was overthinking. All good, sir. Thank you.
Oh, all right, perfect. So I think maybe that what I was explaining maybe resolved that. All right, good. Let's go back to we were talking about the program completion and the resume upload. So all programs have been required to ensure that graduates of the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program have resumes that identify the individual as a graduate of Illinois Works, the Pre-Apprenticeship Program, and to note the certifications that the individual received, right? All graduates are receiving first aid CPR. All graduates are receiving OSHA 10 construction. So new for 2025 is that the resumes must be uploaded when moving a participant from the enrolled status to a complete status. So that's complete or complete and in transition. It's essential that grantees ensure that the graduate of their program has a resume, that each graduate of their program has resumes that state all of the certifications that the graduate received, that the graduate either will be or is apprenticeship initiative compliant, right? Remember the two criteria for being apprenticeship initiative compliant is that they have graduated from the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program and are in a USDOL registered apprenticeship program. That same thing holds true for being bid credit eligible. So all resumes should state that the graduate is either or will be bid credit eligible upon entry into a registered apprenticeship program. They should, of course, be stating that they're Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program graduates and have the Illinois Works number. That is the workNet ID. So when you are in IWRS, you'd see that as the workNet ID. We're providing that to contractors for when they establish, eligibility for bid credits or when they submit their work hours for their employees as being bid credit eligible. We utilize the Illinois Work Number, which is again the Illinois WorkNet ID as confirmation. And then having the graduate's most recent and updated contact information on that resume is critical. Your grant manager will review these resumes for that information as part of the completion verification during monthly compliance. So again, this is a requirement that your grant manager will review in order to verify that a person, that your organization would receive completion credit for that individual. This information will be, or the graduate information is transferred on a daily basis from IWRS to the Career Pathways Management Platform, so the CPMP. That is a new platform this year. We've talked a little bit about it at the administrator orientation meeting in Naperville back in January. We will continue to share information about it, but it's essentially the platform that our career services team will use to assist our graduates, your graduates, our graduates in moving forward with their goals of employment and entry into registered apprenticeship programs. So the resumes that are in IWRS need to be ready for those contractors and employers to see and use, because the career services team may receive a request from an employer or a contractor and pull those resumes and send them directly to the contractors. So the contact information also needs to be the latest available. Our final update that for 2025 that we want to share is one that you may have seen, since again this was one of the ones that was implemented at the end of 2024. When you update a participant status on the program completion / follow-up tab, all statuses will now prompt you to enter a final status date. In the past, we had, if they were a graduate, so if you were moving them to complete or completed in transition, it would ask you for the program completion date. Now, since a person can also be marked as incomplete, we want to know that final status date. So the date that you should be entering there is the last date that the participant was considered an active program participant. So for graduates that graduated, or for participants that graduated from the program, this would be their last date of instruction, right? And that can include maybe their job site. I mean, some programs have all the classroom activity, and then they do 2 weeks of job site, so it would be their last day on the job site training module, or potentially they had a couple makeup classes for the week after the rest of their cohort graduated. So for that individual, it'd be that last makeup class that they attended. For participants that dropped out of the program, which you're marking as incomplete, it's just quite simply the last day that they attended class with your program. All right. Any questions before we take a live look at IWRS and see some of these updates?
Yes, Dan, we have 2 questions. JR wants to know, should the participant have the resume before they enter the program? Do we upload then, update, or wait to the end of the program to upload after graduation?
That's a good question. So you would wait to upload an updated resume when they graduate, because again, as even though they may have a very strong construction-based resume coming into your program, they would not have the fact that they are an Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program graduate on that resume yet, right? They certainly wouldn't have the apprenticeship initiative compliant and bid credit eligible information in their workNet ID. So it's really the end of the program information that we need. Capturing and retaining in their paper file their incoming resume is certainly best practice and should be done. But in terms of uploading it into IWRS, it's just for the participants that reach the end of the program.
And then Sandra Brudent says, did you say we have to add their workNet ID on their resume?
That's correct. Again, the workNet ID is the other programs in the Office of Illinois Works. They are referring to the Illinois Works it as the Illinois Works ID, and other programs are utilizing that ID for matching purposes to establish that apprenticeship initiative compliance and the bid credit eligibility.
And JR asked again, do we have to update the previous participants with the ID number also?
So, all programs should be reaching out to their graduates for every 90 days for 1 year after completion. And as with anything else, if their contact information changes, their email address, their phone number, if they have any updates to their resume, including something like adding their Illinois Works ID, those are all things that should definitely be updated on their resume and then re-uploaded into IWRS. So yes.
There are no other questions in the chat.
All right, so let me share my screen and we can walk through some of I think I grabbed the right screen. Yeah, there we go. All right. So let me start. I'm kind of going back to the beginning. So here we are on the main page of IWRS, the participant recruitment and engagement page. This is where, again, we're used to seeing this add participant. This is where we add leads and inquiries. Now new for 2024, we can see the upload customers tab. I'm just going to show very quickly the add participant, right? Gives us just some basic information, but then as we fill that out, we go to the pre-screening assessment, the upload customers, and let me pull this up here. Oh, I closed my window. Looking too fast. All right, so as I mentioned, we can see the instructions right here. And the very first thing you'll want to do is download this Excel template. So, and it shares some information. All fields are required except for the street address 2. And let me show you what that template looks like. So when you download it, you would receive a template like this. And I just placed in, some test information, but it walks through the pre-screening questionnaires, right? Are you interested in a career in construction? Yes or no? Again, we have to utilize this template. These cells, as you can see, have drop-down menus. In order for this to import correctly, it needs to see the exact information that it's expecting. Certainly, most of these are yes, no, but then we get to something like this, and it asks how you heard about this program. Here again is, I mentioned that you can only select one. So if the person actually mentioned a couple of the items, then after this upload, you would need to go back into their profile and update with multiple selections. So again, do they meet the pre-screening requirements? They do not. They do, and they're not interested in participating, or they do and they are interested in participating. You can set your date as to when this actually occurred at, the date of the open house, or, the date they sent you that inquiry. These are, again, the same answers that are available at one at a time in the pre-screening assessment, but that allows you to enter it here. So you would, fill out all this information for as many inquiries as you want, and then you would, choose your file here. If you have multiple grants, be sure you're entering them for the grant you intend to. We saw quite a bit of that last year, that an organization was uploading information into just the first grant that appeared on their dropdown, and so all of the North, the North grant received all the information, and the South grant didn't receive anything. So then they had to go through quite a process to have that all updated. But that'll work through that upload, and then you'll be able to, it'll actually take you to a confirmation screen, and you'll see any errors that before you go through that upload, and then you can correct them. So any questions about this before I move on?
Yes, we have two questions waiting, one from the last questions session. Rahid wants to know, can we get an undated resume template that we can use with all of the information that is needed to be added?
Yes. So the short answer is yes. So all of the templates, this is kind of in reference to Sandra's question earlier as well. All of those templates and exhibits, exist in the grantee manual. And as soon as that 2025 grantee manual is published, which I know everyone's wanting it yesterday, we certainly want to provide it to you ASAP. As soon as that's published, then we can update the partner guide, and you'll be able to download them all from there.
And then we have a question from Robert. And he asks, kindly show how to access the template again.
So this template, okay, let's see. I'm going to go back to the participant and recruitment page. This is your main page for IWRS, and you would select upload customers. This is where the bulk upload exists. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then the template is right here. Go ahead and make my screen a little bit bigger. So you can see it's a hyperlink that says Excel, and if I select that, it says it just added that to my downloads. All right. Any other questions?
Robert says, got it, thank you.
All right. Perfect. Next up, we had talked about the just a couple things on that application. Probably that's pretty self-explanatory, but I will go ahead and we'll take a look at one of these applications again, just to, on the intake tab, when we say complete application with customer, that work history, we're looking for the current or most recent employer name. So they've been unemployed for a year and a half. That employer from a year and a half ago, that's the information that we want there. Again, whatever it is, the most recent employer. Now, certainly, we can use some discretion there. If an individual worked for, had a full-time job for 10 years, and then they were laid off, and for the last 2 months, they've been, working a part-time job or driving for Lyft or Uber, you can go ahead and put that decade-long job that they had there as their most recent employer. But in general, we're looking for their current or most recent employer of note. All right. We talked about the eligibility documents. So that is right underneath. You're familiar with the proof of high school graduation. So that is the proof of eligibility is right here. You can, if you have 3 different documents you're uploading, right, you can upload 3 different documents here. If you have 3 different documents, you can scan them into a single PDF and upload them as a single upload, whichever you prefer. But again, you would just click on this upload proof of eligibility, and it's the same type of pop-up window that we see for most of our uploads. You would choose the file, enter the description of, and then go ahead and conduct your upload. Again, this is something, it's on our intake page. This is what grant managers currently utilize. They will just walk through here and they view each one of these required pieces of information in order to give your organization enrollment verification during monthly compliance. Let's see here. The wraparound service assessment, I mentioned that has been updated. First off, there is now an upload, right, for that paper assessment. So we see that here. If I click on it, it's going to give that same type of pop-up menu. Oops. It's going to give that same pop-up menu, so I can just, so Dan's wraparound service assessment, and I can upload that. But I also, when I go to the input screen, I would transpose all that information, and I will include now the conductor name of the person that provided that wraparound service assessment to the participants, and gave them the overview of how your organization can support them. All right, any questions?
Yes, we have 3 questions on the chat, in the chat. Sandra wants to know, what if their current job is Lyft or Uber?
Well, then go ahead and enter that in. If that's their employment, that's their employment. I was just giving an example of previously, if they really, have a lot of experience, as a laborer, and they've done that type of construction work for 10 years, but they are just temporarily for the last month, driving for Lyft. We'd really want to know the the labor experience. But if that's what they do, if that's their job, then go ahead and enter that in.
A follow-up question, will a passport work instead of a birth certificate?
Yes.
And Jackie Lawson wants to know, what is the best practice for response to a parent who is uncomfortable having their student's driver's license updated? As a high school program, are we able to use their student ID instead of a driver's license, as they needed to provide proof of residency to enroll in the school?
Yes, you could use the student ID as proof of residency. We would still need proof of age.
At this time, that's the last question in the chat.
Excellent. I will just say one more thing related to driver's licenses, and whether that's, whether we're talking about high school programs or, community programs. The driver's license, aside from being an ideal document because it shows all 3 of the pieces of information that we're looking to verify in terms of their legal name, their age, and their residency. It should also be the goal of every program to ensure that participants, have a driver's license. And if they don't, every program's wraparound service coordinator should be working tirelessly to ensure that the person has their driver's license by the time they graduate from the pre-apprenticeship program. So I can't stress that enough. All right.
I'm
yes.
so sorry, Dan. We have 2 more questions that just got in. Carmen wants to know, what do you need from a person that was born outside of the United States, where the birth certificate has a different name than their high school diploma or Illinois driver's license?
Well, we would want to see some form of name change, right? How did they get to that point, right? Because if I have a high school diploma that says Dan Martinez, but I have a birth certificate from another country that says Rick Schwartz, how is anyone to know that that's the same person, right? There has to be some sort of connection. So we need to see an official government document showing the name change. And that's regardless of whether we're talking about someone from a different country or someone, born and raised in the United States. That really doesn't change.
And the last question is, when was the option for most current employer tab added? I have my first cohort set already, but have yet to begin, and I don't recall seeing that option yet.
I believe that has been in. I mean, I showed it here. Oops, I had the mouse on the wrong. I showed it here. I believe it's been in IWRS since December.
Okay. I'm sorry, another question just came in again. Are we able to use school credentials from other country? And what is the process to have them officially translated into English?
So that's a good question. We do have guidance on that. That's really part of the grantee manual. You know what? Just reach out to your grant manager for that information, because not only are we looking for a translation in 2025, we need a confirmation that of equivalency, and there are organizations that that are recognized in doing that. So for those of you that are curious, just wait till the 2025 grantee manual is released. If you have that need to know right now, reach out to your grant manager and they will direct you to those resources.
We have one more response, I believe, to the last question. Should I go ahead and read that, or would you like to take that at the end of the?
No, go ahead. We can.
Okay. Scott Terry responds and says, foreign credential evaluation report to verify their foreign high school diploma. This costs money. Illinois Works funds cannot be used to pay for this unless the grantee has another funding source to cover for the applicant. The fees associated with ascertaining the foreign credential evaluation report is responsibility of the applicant. And then Jasmine Bankhead asked, when will new grantees have access to this system?
Oh, hi, Jasmine. Well, first of all, regarding Scott's statement, I don't necessarily agree with what was said there. So work with your grant manager. Regarding Jasmine, all of the new grantees should have attended the training session in Rockford, and they have access to the system. All right. So the next update that we had talked about really related to the the fact that services will now be automatically placed in IWRS based on different circumstances. So we just looked at the wraparound services. And if I go into this test participant, we will see that digital literacy and transportation were placed here automatically because those were both requested as part of the wraparound service assessment. In a similar manner, here I'll go to the intake tab. So if I look at the wraparound service assessment here, transportation was requested. The person said no, they do not have reliable transportation. And digital literacy, do you feel confident in your ability to use a computer? And they said no. And so that's why we see here that these were automatically added. For transition services, we can see a bunch of different things that were entered here. maybe interview prep and resume prep. If I go to this individual's orientation career assessment, we can see that, do you have experience taking part in job interviews? No. Do you have experience taking, or do you have an up-to-date resume? It said yes, but then this was manually entered. So you can see how some can be entered automatically by IWRS, but then others can be added automatically by your staff, or added manually by your staff. And then student support services, as I mentioned, these can be populated based on a score of less than 70% on a post assessment. Will automatically place a retake assessment and a tutoring service. And if I enter a attendance of less than 80%, it will enter a makeup session service for me. But again, I can always manually add services by coming up here and going to the add steps and services and adding those directly. I know I'm kind of running out of my allotted time, so I will move forward with just highlighting the barrier reduction costs. So if I go to transportation, I'm going to open up that service, and I can see that there is a dollar value of service here. I will note that there's attendance here. That is an error in IWRS, and they are working to remove that. That should be removed in about a week. But the dollar value of service is there, and that's what we want to focus on today. And you can see, just like the stipend table, it functions exactly the same way. I can add costs and that information. And again, that needs to be the same cost information that your financial, folks are putting for their PFR. We had talked about the training services report. So I will show that real quick. If I go back, I could do that from here. I can do that from anywhere because it's really just the navigation bar. But I'm going to go ahead and come up here and go to the reports tab, or the reports icon. And I get this project category. I'm going to select ILWorks. And then this report here, the IWRS Training Services Report, will allow me to quickly access for a given cohort. I'm going to go ahead and filter that. All of the participants and all of their services, or all their training services, right? I can narrow it down further by just saying which service I want to see. I'm going to pick module 104, Power Tools, filter that. And now within that cohort, I just see the students that have the Power Tools course, and I can select these and just update. Maybe I have the Power Tools attendance roster. The instructor just finished that course and has given me that information along with all their assessment information, and I can just now run through every participant in that class and update the information. And you can see now that I've updated the information for Jerry Apple right there. That would normally have taken me, maybe 8 clicks and 2 or 3 minutes. I mentioned we can also do this in mass. So we have a bulk upload feature. When I click on that, again, it starts with getting the template, and then you fill out the information, then re-upload the template into the proper provider and cohort. Any questions about this training services update?
Oh, Dan, we have one more question. JL wants to know, does this filter apply to previous year's cohorts as well?
It will. It will. right now it is, I think, only showing 2025 participants. Sorry, I have to move this out of my way. Where'd it go? Here it is. It's only showing me 2025 participants, but we will be able to pull 2024 eventually. You won't be able to update any of the information for people that have been verified as complete, right? Because these get locked once the completion is verified. But in terms of reporting and the ability to export that information, yes, that will be available.
There are no more questions in the chat.
Okay. A final, let's see, I think we had, yeah, two last things, both on the program completion and follow-up tab. So when I'm in an individual's profile, we can see that I have the ability to upload their resume, which is one of the things that we talked about. Again, this is a requirement for completion verification, but also the other update here was to note that we're always looking to know what was the last day the person was part of the program. So for someone who, graduated, that would be their last day of instruction, whether it was a makeup or whether it was with the entire cohort. For someone who is incomplete, that would be the day they dropped out. What was the last day they came to class? And those were all of the updates that we had to share so far. So I will take, if there are one or two more questions, I will hand this back over to Jeff and take one or two more questions.
Okay, thank you. We have Susan Russian asking this question. I would like to verify that we must enter completed hours for each individual for training scores. I think that's a comment, actually.
I'd like to verify we enter completed hours for training scores. Not sure what that means. So the actual hours they attended the classes, yes. So that bulk, that report that I showed you where you can upload the information there, it does not take away any of the requirements. In fact, and it even doesn't even take away the ability to update an individual's training services, their hours attended and post assessments and credentials that you would normally do in their profile. You can still go into the profile just like you did in 2024 and update all the information there. This is just an additional way of doing it that might be faster for some programs. All right. Well, thank you all very much for your time. I'll hand it on over to Monica, I believe. Oh, we're doing a Mentimeter. That's right. We'll see how well you were paying attention. I forgot. This is exciting. This is the best part. All right. So a Mentimeter link is being placed in the chat. I think you guys were all already part of it. You may also have a multimeter viewer right within your WebEx screen. And we're going to go through some questions and we'll see who can score the highest. Little game show time. I think we have 4 questions here. Oh, look at this. 35 players ready. All right, I know initially there were several people said they were experts. So let's see if they're going to be experts for 2025. 38 players. Can we get to 40? I have a feeling that there are some Illinois Works staff members that have joined in here, but let's see if we can beat them too. IWRS has been updated for grantees to upload proof of participants' identity, age, and Illinois residency. True or false? IWRS has been updated for grantees to upload proof of participants' identity, age, and Illinois residency. All right, that of course is true. I think someone wanted me to point out that the faster you answer, the more points you receive. So if you want to beat that one guy, you're going to have to be pretty fast on this next question. So good job, everyone, on that. All right, here we go. Illinois Works highly recommends that grantees enter any direct costs associated with providing wraparound services, transition services, or student support services into IWRS. So again, the Office of Illinois Works highly recommends that grantees enter any direct costs associated with providing a wraparound service, transition service, or student support service into IWRS. It was a trick question. I did not write these questions, so don't take your hate out on me, but it is false. It's not a recommendation, it is a requirement. So, Kathy, good listening skills there. So we're tied for first. All right, there. You know what? It's still anyone's game. So let's go to question number 3. Only total attendance hours per module will be entered for each participant and attendance roster uploaded into the provider info tab per cohort. Only total attendance hours per module will be entered for each participant and attendance roster uploaded into the provider info tab per cohort. All right, so we have true. So we're not entering that information. We're not entering it, for the entire cohort. We're doing it per module. Illinois Works is working on bulk updates. It's projected to be available in 2026. So we're talking about future updates, and Illinois Works is hoping to have bulk updates available for you in 2026. True or false? False. There you go. So a lot of us learned our lesson. They are trying to trick you. So those are available in 2025. Monica will actually be sharing some future thoughts on updates in just a moment, but I was covering current updates and certainly the ability to bulk upload participants and attendance information is currently available. All right, when you upload a participant status on the program completion and follow-up tab, all statuses will now prompt you to enter a final status date. True or false? When you upload a participant status on the program completion and follow-up tab, all statuses will now prompt you to enter a final status date. That is true. So previously we were just looking for that for people that had successfully completed the program, but now we're looking to understand the date that everyone has left the program. All right, Metal came from behind there and took the lead. Congratulations. They are rocking on with 3,823 points. So congratulations. I'm going to hand the microphone over to Monica, and again, she's going to update us on future updates.
Well, thank you, Dan. I don't have a super cool game to share, but in the next 2 slides, I'm going to describe new features, tools, and reports in the Illinois Works reporting system that will be debuting in the spring or after the spring of 2025. Timelines for these items will be provided in coming months. The Office of Illinois Works and SIU, or Southern Illinois University, have been working to implement a new compliance management system for your grant managers. Much of this system will consist of a workspace that is for the Office of Illinois Works internally, so grantees will not see the changes. However, our goal is to streamline the thousands of data checks that grant managers perform, which will result in the improved delivery of compliance reports to grantees on a monthly basis. Our goal is to internalize all of the compliance reporting, which would even include the delivery of the reports to grantees within IWRS. Another major update Illinois Works is bringing to IWRS is the inclusion of career plans. As you know, the ATS platform was eliminated. In its place, the Illinois Works Career Services team will pull the necessary information for career plans directly from IWRS. This eliminates a lot of work that grantees were required to complete for all of their graduates. In a related update, IWRS will also be a source of career plan generation. The follow-up questionnaire that you are already familiar with has already received an update relating to whether participants are available for work. We will continue to update the questionnaire as needed in order to build actionable career plans for our graduates. The Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program will continue to collect feedback and IWRS improvement recommendations from grantees throughout the year. If you have recommendations you would like to make, please email them to your assigned grant manager or provide them during the structured feedback sessions that are always scheduled during the regional meeting and during the annual conference. In the meantime, we will continue our technology improvement strategy this year, except at a much slower pace than last year, in order to reduce the disruption of grantee program operations and data entry. So, the Illinois Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program has secured dedicated developers at SIU to work on IWRS development priorities. The Illinois Works team will continue to update grantees via technical bulletins throughout the year as new updates are released. Please keep in mind that you may also request technical assistance from your Illinois Works grant manager, who will then refer you to SIU's technical assistance for more complex matters if that's needed. Are there any questions in the chat before we proceed with the evaluation?
At this time, there are no questions in the chat.
Excellent. I will turn it back over for evaluation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Monica. So for those of you who are in Mentimeter, you certainly can go to your device and scan if you want to use a mobile device, or you should use the one that's already embedded in the system. So let's begin. Please share your views on this training by rating the following statements from 1 lowest to 10 the highest. To what extent did it meet your expectations? How likely are you to attend a similar event in the future? And how likely are you to recommend this training to others? Okay, we have some feedback coming in. There are about 49 attendees, so if you will certainly participate, that gives us the information we need to improve the programming, so we appreciate your participation. All right. Thank you for your responses. The next question is, the course was relevant to what I wanted to learn about this subject matter, ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Okay, we have a tie going on between somewhat agree and strongly agree. It's a lot of moving parts going on here now, but it looks like the most of you agree that this is something you wanted to learn about. Thank you for your responses. I plan to apply what I learned. Again, from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Having these updates are helpful and certainly can alleviate a lot of the frustration you might experience with some of the problems that may have been happening in previous years. So I think the updates will add value to all of your IWRS experiences. And it looks like strongly agree is the winner on that one. What improvements might you recommend? For those of you who made comments that maybe this was not useful or you didn't agree, this would be a good opportunity to kind of share with us some of your ideas behind why you chose that answer and what we can do to improve our programming. We have a few responses. 2 NAs, make it less boring. Is there anything else you want to share? More examples. Very good. Thank you. Outline updates ahead of time, similar to IWRS memos. Additional examples. Yes, we hear that. Examples of situations that we've learned from. That would be helpful as well. Thank you for your participation. I think we have a few more. Test site being brought back up might be beneficial. Sending out an agenda, what we've gone over. Have the grant readily available. Thank you. More along the system like Dan did with us. I believe that's a reference to the Rockford location. Very good. All right, thank you for your responses. What did you find effective? If we make changes, what would you recommend we keep? Efficiency, walk through the changes in IWRS. Keep the blend of virtual and in-person meetings. Thank you for that. Keep Mentimeter. Love the examples and screenshots. More IWRS examples. I have the updates in place before the webinar is held. Mentimeter is good, even if the questions are occasionally, I don't know what that means. Continue to have these training sessions. Thank you. And then one last one says, I love the examples. Continue to use these examples and continue with Mentimeter. Thank you. Is there anything else in this course that you think we should know? So we're talking about IWRS updates. Is there anything in this course you think we should know? We have one NA. That's what we call a bowling turkey. 3 in a row. All right. So at this time, I want to thank everyone for participating. And we want to give you back your time. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your week. Goodbye, everybody.